Hi, I'm Chris Bergwald, Director of Adult Faith Formation with the Diocese of Sioux Falls.
And I'm Eric Gallagher, the Director of Adolescent Faith Formation for the Diocese of Sioux Falls.
And this is our second video on Sherry Weddell's book, Forming Intentional Disciples, looking at the second chapter of that book. Eric, the thing that struck me most about this chapter is when Sherry talks about the three spiritual journeys that are part of the overall Catholic spiritual life. The first of them is the journey through the sacraments of baptism, confirmation, First Holy Communion. Usually First Confession and Reconciliation is included in there as well. That's one of them. The other part of our spiritual life is involvement in the parish, going to Mass on a regular basis, certainly weekly basis, maybe being involved in the various ministries, outreaches, committees in our parishes. And then the third one, and really the most important, the first and sense of priority, is personal discipleship. Again, the overall theme of this book, being an intentional disciple, having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And she makes the point in this chapter, which I completely agree with, that I've seen in my own personal experience and in the experience of others as well, that we can't presume that just because somebody's received the sacraments, just because they're coming to Mass, maybe involved in the parish even, we can't presume, today at least, that they're also intentional disciples, that they have that personal relationship, that we have to be much more intentional about fostering that, certainly in ourselves, and then others as well who we work with, maybe in our parishes or our various ministries. My own case, we went to Mass on a regular basis growing up, very involved as an altar boy and so on, but I didn't have really anything more than a superficial sense of my personal discipleship. And so when I got to college, I stopped practicing my faith right away because it was just those two levels. It hadn't yet reached that third most important level in which I was and am a personal disciple.
And in the parishes, I often look at this in the parish life, many of the people in our diocese who will be reading this book are those leaders in ministry. And so first it's a challenge to them. Your ministry will only be fruitful if the third journey that she talks about is there, if you are journeying to be an intentional disciple, or if you are an intentional disciple. Because really that's the underlining mission that they have in the parish, whether you're a funeral lady, whether you're helping with youth and adult faith formation, anything like that. The underlying mission is the goal to form disciples and to have people encounter Christ and be in a relationship with Him. And if they don't have that themselves, it's hard for them to transmit it. And sometimes the difficult reality is to realize it's actually harmful if you're a leader in that position and you're trying to lead other people in that way. And so the challenge really is to just recognize and know that we can be as busy as we want, but if we're not committed to that relationship, we're not going to be able to pass down the faith effectively. Also in the chapter, she talks about discipleship cannot be an unconscious effort. It's something that you can't just receive the sacraments and be very busy in the parish and then that makes you a disciple. That third has to be a very, very conscious thing, and so it has to be attention to prayer and receiving the sacraments, that daily relationship and walk with Christ, and making every decision that you have out of love for Him. And that's a difficult thing for people to get into, is that they're not used to actually setting time aside for that journey in its own area.
And then, particularly for those who are leaders, making sure that they're offering those opportunities and encouraging those that they work with. So, thinking of maybe of a DRE working with his or her catechists, providing the catechists opportunities, maybe a day of reflection or even a retreat somehow at the parish, that the catechists themselves have those opportunities, because particularly in those areas that the Church teaches that witnessing to the faith yourself, it's not just catechesis is not just being a teacher, it's also living the faith so that those who are being catechized see that and respond to your own lived faith experience yourself.
Because the reality is you can't make disciples unless you are a disciple. And so, as a DRE in a parish, you're trying to make those youth in the parish disciples, and the person you're asking them to do that is a catechist, and so it is your job to make sure that they are a disciple,
right, making
disciples, which then goes, if we look at the discipleship roadmap, it takes them to the disciple reproducer.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll talk about that in another video as well.
Okay.
you.